Welcome to the next lecture. In this session, we're going to create another important asset for our project, the gradient bar. The idea is to make a gradient bar where one end is filled with a solid color at 100% opacity, and the opposite end gradually fades to 0% opacity. To begin, create a rectangle. Then, fill it with a gradient by selecting the gradient icon, or you can press the period key. We're going to use a linear gradient for this bar. Rotate the gradient to a 90-degree angle. Since we want the darker values at the bottom, rotate the gradient by minus 90 degrees. Now select the first point and sample a warm color. Click in the middle of the gradient to add another point and sample the same warm color. Set the opacity of this middle point to 60%. For the bright point on the opposite end, reduce the opacity to 0%. This will ensure that the gradient gradually fades out towards the other end. You can adjust the middle point to control the length of the mid-values in the gradient. Next, create a copy of this bar and make slight adjustments by moving the gradient points and changing their opacity. While you can move the points directly on the shape, I find it easier to adjust them in the gradient panel for more precision. Now, let's create the last bar with a contrasting color to the warm bar. Select the point at the end of the gradient and sample a blue color. Then, for the middle point, sample the same color but reduce its opacity. Move the middle point around to introduce some variation in the gradient. That's it for this lecture. We're done creating the assets for our project. In the next lecture, we'll begin assembling everything together.